Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel and welcome to another installment of my 2017 beauty favorite series. Today we're doing eyeshadow palettes. I'm really excited. I actually had quite a hard time choosing these, especially because we've had that many palette releases in 2017. Like I feel like 2017 was the year of the eyeshadow palette. It was a little out of control. So yeah, I've got a little stash of palettes. These are the ones that I have, either most reached for, most loved, most traveled with. And I've also got a few in here that I think are the most versatile for those of you out there. Obviously, we've all got our own preferences when it comes to eyeshadow palettes. I personally always reach for warm eyeshadows. It's just something that I do. But I know that there are a lot of other people who always reach for cool eyeshadows. So I've tried to include some of those options as well. And even though I might not necessarily use it every day, it is genuinely one of the best palettes out there, in my opinion, in the cooler tone range. So yes, let's jump into it. First up, I really wanted to mention my Z palettes. Now, this is technically not an eyeshadow palette, I realize that, but Anastasia, Beverly Hills, and Makeup Geek single eyeshadow pans are still some of my most used. I probably actually reach for these maybe even more than a lot of traditional eyeshadow palettes. I just really love the idea that you can pick your own shades, you can build your own palette, you don't have to be stuck with colors that you don't like necessarily. It does get, unfortunately, quite pricey, to build a whole one of these, especially if these are like $10, $15 each. It gets quite pricey, but I just love the versatility of it, and especially because, I'm a professional makeup artist, I need every color under the rainbow. So for me, these are still my most loved and used. Oh, actually, would you guys be interested in seeing like a Z palette tour and, all of the shadows that I do keep in my Z palettes and the ones that I kind of reach for every day? Let me know if that's something that you would be interested in, and we can do a whole video about my Z palettes, how I organize them, which colors I keep together, which ones I don't keep together. Let me know. Easily my most used palette in 2017. I was traveling with this everywhere. I reach for it most days. The Too Faced Sweet Peach palette changed my life. I absolutely love this thing. This is a palette that's got kind of peachy shades in it, but I also feel like it's got a really good balance of warm and cool undertones to it. You've got your cools through your purples, you've got your sort of taupey browns, and then we've got beautiful corals, pinks, oranges. I love this thing. I use this so much. The lid is actually busted. It doesn't shut properly anymore. Like, I have used and abused this like you wouldn't believe. It smells amazing. I think that the pigmentation is fantastic of this. I have heard from a couple of other people who have been like, oh, my peach palette wasn't any good. I don't know if they reformulated it. I didn't get this when Too Faced originally released this, all those years ago. I got this when they made it part of their permanent collection. The pigmentation of these is insane. They blend beautifully. It's so easy to use. I just freaking love this thing, and it smells like peach. Like, still to this day, this is the #1 eyeshadow palette that I recommend. And I know you guys are probably so sick of hearing about it, but it's honestly that good. Had to mention the Tarte Clay Play palette. Since discovering this, I have been using this one heaps and heaps and heaps. Now, this one is a little bit tricky because it's technically a cheek palette as well as an eyeshadow palette, so it doesn't really fit, specifically in each category. But all of the cheek colors in this I use on my eyes anyway, so, for me, it doesn't really make a difference. This is an all neutral eyeshadow palette, and, you can see probably looking at it, you're probably thinking, oh, it's like a little bit boring looking. Like, I don't know why you're so obsessed with that. Oh my goodness, this thing blends better than any other matte eyeshadows out there. It honestly blends so well. All of these really beautiful, rich, warm tones. You can do your eyeliner with it. You can do your brows with it. You can do, your cheeks with it. It's just a really amazing everyday palette, like, for going to work or for going to college or whatever it is that you do with your day. This will cover basically everything, and it always looks nice, and you can build like really natural looks. You can do really full-on deep smoky eyes with this. It's just the perfect all-rounder, and I love it. And so many of you were like, oh, Nikki, I got that for sale when it was on sale at Ulta or Sephora or something for like $15, and I was like, it's so expensive here in Australia. I'm so jealous. Okay, next up I've got the Huda Beauty Desert Dusk palette. This was a new release in 2017. Now, I personally cannot compare this to her original Rose Gold palette. I've never tried it. I'm sorry. It's on the list. Okay, I need to buy it. I'll do it this week. This palette is honestly stunning. I was a little bit miffed at the start when I first reviewed it because the mattes in this are actually a lot drier and chalkier than a lot of the mattes that I am used to working with. They definitely build up to full opacity, and you can get rid of any patchiness or anything like that when it does form. With that in mind though, like, even though it has its flaws, this palette, honestly, the shimmers in these are absolutely groundbreaking. Beautiful, beautiful color layout. I really love the way that she's chosen the colors for this palette, because I think that there are a lot of, you know, color combinations in here that most people probably might not think of because, you know, they haven't seen that in a palette before kind of thing. Like, I feel like it encourages you to sort of step out of your, you know, normal boundaries. The purples in this, the shimmers, it's got a really beautiful pressed glitter. I love this. I absolutely love this. I keep reaching for it. I keep using it. I keep packing it when I travel. I keep thinking about it. I keep looking at it. I can't get away from it. And in my opinion, if that's kind of what's going through my brain space, it's worth the money. Next up, the Lorac Unzipped palette. This is an old release from Lorac, and I do really want to try the Unzipped Gold. But this again is another one of my most used eyeshadow palettes. Really, really beautiful, romantic, sort of pinky, rosy tones in this one. The shimmers in this are absolutely stunning. Full on pigmentation. You know, they're so shimmery, they're so buttery, they're so smooth, they're so easy to blend, and they're just really beautiful, soft, flattering colors. Like, this is the kind of eyeshadow palette that's going to look good on everybody. It's an amazing eyeshadow palette for beginners because it's one of those ones that it wouldn't matter what you did, what you mixed together, how you blended it, what brushes you used, it will always, always, always look good. For brides, for debutante balls, for formals, for special events, it's the best. It is. Do I include this or do I not? I think, this is the brand new Too Faced Chocolate Gold palette, and I have only just started using it this week, but I wanted to give it an honorable mention because this is one of the nicest full shimmer palettes that came out in 2017. There are a lot of brands that came out with, you know, shimmery, glittery eyeshadow palettes, and they were like, you know, so-so. We've had our melted foils, our liquid foils, our 3D glitters, our foiled everything, and I felt like every time I tried them, like, you know, they were okay, but they weren't liquid foils, they weren't liquid metals, they weren't full-on glittery amazingness. A lot of the eyeshadows this year have been like glitter top coats, they're sheer. What I want in a glitter eyeshadow is a glitter eyeshadow. Like, I want it to be like melted gold or melted silver or melted copper. Like, I want it to beam off my face, and this palette does that. And I know I'm kind of like, because I really have only just started using it. I have done quite a few eyeshadow looks with it, and it's been beautiful and easy to use every single time. The foils in this are next level. I did do a full review swatch video. I think it was earlier, was it last week, this week? I don't know. It's up on my channel and I will link it down below. But honestly, like, one swipe, these are nuts. These are like the nicest eyeshadows ever. Too Faced has honestly hit this out of the park. Like, the formula on these couldn't be better. It's just beautiful. Okay, next up I've got two Zoeva eyeshadow palettes. I feel like Zoeva eyeshadow palettes, they don't get spoken about often enough. The formula of these is beautiful. The packaging is really sleek, lightweight, easy to store, easy to travel with. And the shadows, like the quality of the eyeshadows, are amazing. They're so buttery and pigmented and smooth. My two most loved and used Zoeva eyeshadow palettes is firstly the Zoeva Matte. This is a really nice basic palette. You can do cool tone looks with this, you can do warm tone looks with this, and the mattes in this blend out really, really nicely. This is just one of the ones that I continuously reach for. It's a little bit tricky with Zoeva because they bring out new collections all of the time, and it can get a little bit, I don't know, you can get a little bit overwhelmed. Like, oh, like, which one do I buy? There's so many eyeshadow palettes. This one here I just think is stunning, and if you are looking for an all matte eyeshadow palette that is genuinely easy to work with, this is an amazing one. And then the Zoeva in Taupe palette. This is an all cool tone eyeshadow palette. I get a lot of questions all of the time. What is your favorite cool tone eyeshadow palette? I always say this one. The pigments in this are beautiful. It blends easily. I always grab this when I'm going for something cool toned or something grey or something silvery. I know a lot of you are like, Urban Decay Naked 2, Urban Decay Naked 2. I'm not personally a huge fan of the Urban Decay Naked 2. I never reach for it. It's a fantastic palette, but personally for me, I just never reach for it. I 100% prefer this one over that one. These are genuinely beautiful, cool tones, soft, fluttering. They look nice on everybody and they're easy to blend. I just think that this is the best cool tone palette. I really do. I do. And then finally, I've got two palettes from Morphe, and I'm sorry for those of you who are Morphe haters. I'm not a Morphe affiliate. I don't work with them. I'm not paid by them. I don't have a code. So please don't label me with that stereotype. I don't appreciate it. But as a makeup artist and, as a makeup lover, I think that these two palettes that I'm about to mention are definitely worth your money if you are looking for really, really good quality eyeshadows. Firstly, honorable mention to the Jaclyn Hill palette. Jaclyn actually worked with Morphe to create a whole new eyeshadow formula with this palette, and honestly, she did an amazing job. The shimmers are gorgeous. The mattes are gorgeous. They blend really well. They swatch really well. They're pigmented. They're buttery. I really don't have too much bad things to say about this palette. Like, it's an amazing palette. Oh, if you live in Australia, don't buy from the Morphe website because the shipping is like $80. What? Crazy. Get it from Beauty Bay. They will ship free to Australia, I think for $40 or over, $50 minimum spend, $40 minimum spend. They'll ship here for free. And then lastly, and you're probably all expecting this one, the Morphe 3502 palette. And you guys, I managed to keep the shade names. I'm so proud of myself. Always lose those things. I don't know why they don't print them on the palettes. It's not that hard. This palette for 2017 was the one that probably blew my mind the most. The absolute most. This one came out after the Jaclyn Hill palette, and the formulation of these eyeshadows is actually quite similar to the Jaclyn Hill one, but I do actually think that the metals in this one are more metallic, and a couple of the mattes kind of pack more punch in terms of pigmentation. I know it is a lot of warm tone eyeshadows. I know there's a lot of orange in there. I know that there are probably a lot of shades in there that look kind of similar. But for me, for my preferences, for what I love and enjoy, this palette is everything. Like, this should be the Nikkia palette. They're blendable, they're pigmented, they're gorgeous. You can get really, really striking eye looks with it. You can get light, soft looks, deep, smoky looks. I love this palette, okay? I continue to use it, I continue to take it places with me, and I continue to talk about it. I love it. Now, quite a few of those palettes that I have mentioned, I have got full swatch tutorial and review videos on. I will link all of them down below if they are up on my channel. I'm pretty sure, yeah, look, nearly all of them I've got review videos on. So yeah, I'll link them all down below. I hope today's video was helpful. Let me know in the comments, were many of these eyeshadow palette choices what you expected? Or was this like a different selection to kind of what you were thinking that I would talk about? I really, really want to know. I also really want to know what your favorite eyeshadow palette has been for 2017. Leave me a comment down below and let me know. I love you all so, so much, and I will catch you guys in tomorrow's video.